Discover the incredible journey of honesty and discipline. 3 life-changing secrets revealed. In the heart of Maplewood, Iowa. A small diner sparkled with untapped potential. It was filled with laughter, the aroma of sizzling burgers, and dreams too big for its quaint walls. Jamie Thompson, a determined 16-year-old, bustled about, her heart beating with hope. Every shift at Thompson's diner wasn't just work. It was a vow to her mother, Sarah, and her spirited little brother, Timmy. They needed every penny they could scrape together to survive. Yet behind every clanking plate and jovial customer was a burning desire. Jamie longed for a scholarship that could lead her family to a brighter future. But doubts crept in when Jake Mason, the arrogant heir to the town's wealthiest family, threw a curveball into her dreams. He had sabotaged her application, leaving her feeling hollow, as if the very foundation of her aspirations had crumbled. The weight of it pressed down on her chest like a heavy stone. In one cruel moment, her hope seemed to evaporate, leaving her barren and questioning her worth. That evening, as she washed dishes, the smell of meatloaf filled the air. Jamie's heart ached, a tightness around her chest, while whispers from affluent families dripped like toxic poison into her soul. Her mother noticed the storm brewing within her, a tender heart battered by the cruelty of fairness. As she put down her apron and sat Jamie down at the corner booth, the weight of her mother's words washed over her like warm sun after a cold winter. Jamie, life isn't always fair, but our integrity defines us, Sarah said, her eyes glistening with wisdom. Jamie felt the flicker of her dreams reigniting, sparks of resilience spreading within her. She realized she wasn't just a cog in the wheel, but a force capable of stirring change. We can't let them bring us down. It's time to stand up and show what we're made of. Emboldened, Jamie threw herself into action. She rallied her neighbors, organizing a community day at the diner. It became a stage for the town's hidden talents. Musicians played lively tunes, artists showcased their colorful canvases, and laughter echoed through town. The event pulled the community together, bridging divides forged by wealth. Every smiling face reminded Jamie of their capacity for connection and strength. But Jake still loomed, a specter within the joy, his betrayal making eyes narrow and voices rise. Just when the diner's spirit soared high, whispers of his actions swept through the crowd. Heated debates ignited about privilege and fairness. The town was at a crossroads. Jamie positioned herself at the center of it all, ready to challenge her community to evaluate their biases. Enough is enough. Look at what we can do when we stand together. Jamie's voice rang out, cutting through the tension. I'm not just asking for a chance. I'm here to show you the heart behind this diner, the struggle behind my dreams. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With every word, Jamie's passion spilled out like the vibrant colors in her mother's homemade pies. Her struggle, her dreams, her love for her family radiated through the diner. The community's perception began to shift, framed around honesty and shared experiences rather than wealth and status. As the festival colors danced around them, Jamie felt something else all the while. An unanswered question gnawed at her heart. What would happen when she finally uncovered the truth about her father? Would it bring them together or tear them apart? With a distant figure watching. From the fringes, Jamie stood on the precipice of a life-changing moment, determined to shape not just her own future, but the future of Maplewood itself. Would she find the key to bridge the chasms that had long separated them? The answer awaited just beyond the horizon. The sun sank lower, casting a warm glow through the diner's windows, the laughter still bubbling up from the community gathered outside. Jamie watched as friends and neighbors took turns sharing their challenges and triumphs. In those moments of vulnerability, walls began to crumble. Fear, jealousy, and the rigid boundaries of wealth faded, replaced by a collective determination to create change. But not everyone was ready to set aside their doubts. Jake Mason stood back, arms crossed, his scowl sharp enough to draw blood. The rustle of murmurs was punctuated by the occasional glare cast in his direction. It was clear that resentment had taken root. Jamie felt his presence like a dark cloud over the colorful scene unfolding before her. Who did he think he was to derail her hopes so easily? Listen, Jamie pressed, her voice rising above the chatter. This diner is a symbol of what we can accomplish together. We may come from different backgrounds, but our dreams are all valid. The crowd quieted, faces turning towards her. Curiosity mixed with skepticism. Jake shifted his weight, determination etched across his features. Dreams don't pay the bills, Jamie, he shot back, his tone dismissive yet tinged with something deeper fear. You can't escape reality. A weighty silence followed. Jamie's heart raced. She could back down, but the words of her mother echoed in her ears. We can't let them bring us down. With renewed fire, Jamie pointed towards Jake. Maybe it's time you open your eyes. You're not the only one fighting for a better tomorrow. The murmurs of support rumbled through the crowd. Encouraging voices joined her, a wave of resolve crashing against Jake's harsh skepticism. One person stepped forward, a local artist named Marie. Jamie's right, we all have a stake in this town. Let us support each other, not tear each other apart. This small act of courage lit a spark in others. Slowly, more joined in, sharing personal stories of struggles with unyielding bills, loss of loved ones, and dreams deferred. They embellished the air with emotion, memories of hard work, and collective bonding. Yet, as hope blossomed, Jamie's nervousness returned. Her boldness felt precarious, fragile in the face of the unresolved question about her father. The man who had vanished without a trace, leaving her mother to bear the weight of everything alone. Have any of you seen him? She suddenly wondered aloud, her own voice almost a whisper. Everywhere she looked, unfamiliar faces seemed more familiar than she thought. What if he's been here all along? Gasps rippled across the crowd. Was it possible? The thoughts swept through them like a gust of wind, each person deliberating their own memories. Jake's expression flickered, confusion intertwining with something else. What do you mean? He finally asked, momentarily dropping his guarded demeanor. I'm asking, what if our pasts are all tied together, a web that we didn't know existed? Jamie replied, her heart pounding. Maybe if we learn more about each other, we can heal together. The sun dipped further into the horizon, shadows lengthening as hearts drew closer, weaving a fabric of unity amid uncertainty. As the crowd murmured and shared thoughts about her father, Jamie felt the trembling excitement of possibility. Just when she dared to hope that the truth might not only bring her family closer but rally the community around her, a distant figure caught her eye. A man approached, his gait steady, yet uncertain. Was it him? The adrenaline surged within her, and she took a cautious step forward. In that moment, everything changed, the past intertwining with the future yet to be revealed. Would facing her father lead to the answers she so desperately sought, or would it draw even deeper rifts within her? The tension in the air was palpable, and Jamie could feel destiny pushing her toward an unknown path. Who are you? She called out, her voice ringing above the gathering. The crowd's attention shifted as they collectively held their breath, the answer hanging in the air, electrifying and daunting. As the figure moved closer, Jamie braced herself for whatever revelation awaited her. Little did she know, the truth could either shatter her world or pull her family together in ways she never expected. What lay ahead was a crossroads filled with love, pain, and unexpected revelations about not only her father but herself. The man drew closer, each step stirring a whirlwind of emotions inside Jamie. A mix of fear and hope twisted in her stomach as she searched his face for something familiar, anything that would anchor her racing thoughts. The crowd hushed, the weight of silence bearing down as anticipation hung heavy in the air. She strained to catch a glimpse of his features that could tie more than just history. They could bind her heart to a future she never thought possible. Who are you? She repeated, her heart hammering against her ribcage. The man paused, studying her. There was something about his eyes' shadows of pain mingled with a flicker of recognition. Jamie's breath quickened. Could he be the answer to all her unvoiced questions? The man hesitated, glancing around at the faces that stared back at him. Some hopeful, others wary. The tension morphed into a swirling vortex of scrutiny and curiosity, and Jamie felt it coil tightly around them. "My name is Tom," he finally spoke, his voice barely above a whisper, rough-edged and vulnerable. The name thundered in Jamie's mind, igniting memories lodged deep within her heart. Tom. It was her father's name. The name she had longed to say, to confront, yet had dreaded all at once. You're my father?" She stumbled over the words, disbelief thick in her throat. She searched his expression for answers she desperately needed. The crowd leaned in, breaths held, caught in the crescendo of emotions unfolding before them. Tom's eyes softened, and in that moment of recognition, Jamie saw the lines of regret etched upon his face. "I didn't want to leave," he admitted, the truth sliding from his lips like a weight lifted. "I never stopped thinking about you and your mother. I thought it was for the best. But it was wrong." A cacophony of whispers rippled through the crowd, shock splintering the air as they processed this revelation. Jamie's heart raced. Part of her was suffocating under the surge of unresolved feelings, while another part fought fiercely against doubt. "You thought it was for the best?" she echoed, her voice taut with bitterness. "You left us without a word." The crowd shifted, tension crackling like static electricity. Jamie felt her gut twist as raw memories flooded her mind, her mother struggling, the loneliness, the unanswered nights spent yearning for a missing piece. "I thought you'd be better off without me," he insisted, his hands raised as if to offer peace. "I wanted to protect you, but I see now that was a mistake." The astringent scent of betrayal filled her senses. She shook her head. "You could have tried. We needed you." As Jamie's voice broke, the emotions built up over years poured out of her, raw and unfiltered. She sensed Jake shift behind her, the hint of something like understanding flickering in his eyes. Jamie Tom stepped forward, his face a mask of pain and longing. "I'm here now. I want to make things right." Her vision blurred with unshed tears, conflicted feelings crashing against one another. Could she trust him? Did he even deserve a second chance? The crowd stood still, the tension palpable as every pair of eyes turned to witness this fragile moment of desperation and hope. Jamie's heart ached with the weight of choices laid bare. If she said yes, she might open the door to healing or to more pain. "What if you just disappear again?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "I won tea," he vowed, earnestness radiating off him. "I'm not that man anymore." The sun finally dipped below the horizon, casting a purplish hue over the diner's exterior. Jamie felt the community around her, pulsing with compassion, urging her to decide. Would she allow the knots of her past to unravel and reshape her future? As hope and doubt wrestled for dominance, Jamie took a deep breath and stared into her father's eyes. "Then prove it." In that moment, she felt the weight of generations pressing down, and whispered possibilities lined the edges of the air, waiting for her embrace. But just as she was about to step closer toward that leap of faith, a sudden shout punctuated the evening. "Wait, you can't. Just believe him." Jake's voice rang out, catching everyone's attention. Jamie's heart sank again as the fabric of her burgeoning hope trembled dangerously. Why now? Why him? What would Jake reveal, and how would it change everything? Jake's voice sliced through the tense air like a knife, sharp and unwelcome. Jamie turned, her heart thudding in her chest. "What do you know?" He stepped forward, arms crossed, his expression a mixture of anger and concern. "You don't know him, Jamie. You don't know the man he really is. How can you just take him at his word?" The crowd shifted, leaning in, their gazes flickering between Jamie and Jake in a dramatic dance of uncertainty. Tom stood frozen, his expression caught between hurt and frustration. "I'm trying to make amends, Jake. For years, I've lived with the consequences of my choices." "Yes, choices like abandoning your family." Jake shot back, his voice rising. "You think a few words can fix everything?" The crowd murmured again, tension thickening as they weighed his challenge. Jamie felt the heat rising in her chest, and anger igniting. And what would you have me do, Jake? Just ignore him because it's easier? I've spent my life wondering why he left. Maybe he deserves a chance to prove he has changed. Deserving isn't enough, Jamie. Jake pressed, stepping closer. You think this is just about you? What if he hurts you again? What if he leads you on like he did your mom? Pain laced every word, pulling at Jamie's heartstrings, fueling doubts she had buried deep. The shadows of the past loomed over her. Memories of her mother's tears flooded back. She could almost hear her whispering the words of hurt, of loss, the silence that had stretched for years. The crowd remained silent, watching, waiting for her decision. Stop! Tom finally interrupted, his voice steadier now, though trembling with emotion. I understand your concerns, Jake. I don't expect forgiveness just for asking. All I'm asking for is an honest chance. I cannot change what happened, but I can try to make it right. But how do I know you're not lying? Jamie challenged, her thoughts racing as she attempted to process the emotions spiraling around her. How can I trust anything you say? The raw desperation of her question hung in the air like a heavy fog. Suddenly, Tom took a step back, running a hand through his hair. The truth is, I've only ever known how to run away. But I'm here now, and I want to face the consequences. Let me show you that I can be different. With each word, he reached for her, fingers trembling slightly, as though hesitant to bridge the gap. Jamie gazed into the depths of his eyes, searching for a glimpse of the man she had wished existed her entire life, the father who could have been there. But doubt gnawed at her heart. It was fast and insistent. What if this was just another empty promise? What if she opened her heart only to have it crushed again? The crowd remained silent, the weight of the moment pressing heavily upon her. She could feel every breath counted as the minutes ticked away. Just then, a voice broke through the quiet. Sometimes people change, Jamie. It was her mother's closest friend, Margaret, standing at the edge of the throng. Sometimes they earn a second chance. You have to decide if it's worth taking that risk. Margaret's words hung in the air, ripe with possibility yet painful with uncertainty. Jamie took a deep breath, torn between longing and caution. Was this truly her moment for renewal? Or was it a path that would only widen her wounds? As she stood at this crossroads, the crowd shifted restlessly, a mix of hope and anxiety swirling around them. Moments faded into an eternity as Jamie's heart threatened to burst with emotion. Would she dare to take a leap of faith? Before she could respond, a new voice emerged, shouting from the back. You don't know what you're getting into, Jamie. What had just emerged from the shadows would shift everything yet again, leaving Jamie reeling. Jamie's heart raced as she turned toward the unfamiliar voice, her stomach sinking. The crowd parted, revealing a figure she recognized. It was Nick, a boy from her school. But he looked different, more intense, eyes glinting with an uneasy mix of anger and concern. What do you mean, Nick? Jamie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. She could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on her, the anticipation thick enough to cut with a knife. Nick stepped forward, brushing past a couple of older townsfolk who murmured in confusion. I mean, you don't really know who he is. His hands gestured toward Tom, who stood rigid, awaiting judgment. You think this is just about a father trying to get back into his daughter's life? You've got to consider what he's really capable of. What do you know? Jake interjected, frustration boiling over. You don't know anything about Jamie's life. Nick's gaze was steady on Jamie. I know more than you think. I've seen people like him, people who can pretend for a moment, but deep down they never change. Jamie felt a mix of frustration and disbelief. And you think you know everything about me? About my family? The anger in her voice caught her off guard, but it was like a defiance exploding inside her. It felt good, for a moment, to assert her pain. No, but I see the signs, Nick insisted. You don't want to end up like your mom. Trust me, none of us do. His eyes softened, and for a split second, she saw that he wasn't just here to attack. He wanted to protect her. Tom stepped forward, his expression tightening. Nick, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know me. You don't know my past. But you're making it sound like your past doesn't matter. Nick shot back. You can't just sweep it under the rug because she's your daughter. You've got to own it. You owe her that much. The emotional weight crashing over Jamie felt suffocating. Could she really trust Tom? Could anyone truly change? The memories of her mother's pain echoed in her mind. A constant reminder of the past she so desperately wanted to escape from. Margaret, still standing at the edge, spoke up, trying to mediate. Everyone has a story, Nick. Maybe Tom's journey toward understanding isn't over yet. Isn't it worth giving him a shot? Jamie glanced back at Tom, who was now hanging on to every word, his expression a mix of hope and despair. But deep within her, fear clawed at her heart. It would hurt to let him in, and the thought of raising hope only for another disappointment made her stomach churn. Jamie, Tom began, his voice low and earnest. I'm here to prove myself. Please, just give me one chance. For a moment, time paused. She looked around at the people waiting for her response. Jake's eyes shimmered with worry. Nick looked determined, and the crowd buzzed with an anxious energy. What if she made the wrong choice? Suddenly, a sudden booming voice pierced the air. Let her think for herself. Everyone turned, startled. It was her little brother, Sam, who had been trying to stand on the outskirts of the crowd. His wide eyes shone with a mixture of innocence and wisdom beyond his years. Sometimes we all need to learn what trust means. Let her have her chance, Sam said, stepping forward, small but resolute. Jamie's heart swelled at the sight of him, a beacon of unwavering hope in a storm of uncertainty. He was right. She did need to make her decision, regardless of the pressure around her. As the silence fell again, Jamie felt the weight of the moment settle over her. The words formed on her lips, but fear clamped down tight. Could she really take that leap of faith? And just like that, a hollow silence hung over them, pregnant with unsaid questions. As Jamie felt the world narrowing down to one single decision, Jamie took a deep breath, steadying herself as she searched for clarity amid the chaos of emotions swirling around her. Sam's unwavering gaze gave her strength. He believed in her, and somehow that made her feel a little braver. Jamie, Tom urged again, his voice trembling. I know I've made mistakes. I've hurt people. But I want to be there for you, for real this time. Just give me the chance to show you. The crowd's tension thickened, everyone waiting for Jamie's decision. Like it had become a turning point in the story of their small town. Did she owe him this moment? Could he truly mean what he said? Why should I trust you? Jamie finally managed, and the question hung in the air, heavy with skepticism. Because I am different now, Tom replied, voice firm. I want to be different for you. I can't change the past, but I can change what happens from this point on. Jamie could feel the warmth of Sam's small hand gripping her own, as if he hoped to transfer his optimism into her. She glanced back at Nick, whose expression was a mix of concern and something else. Was it worry for her? Or for what might happen if she let Tom in? Jake crossed his arms, his discontent still palpable. But the truth was, Jamie didn't know what she wanted. She had spent years building walls, guarding her heart against the pain that even the idea of her father's return brought. Yet, something inside her yearned for closure, a chance to confront the past, even if it opened herself to new hurt. What if you let me show you who I am, rather than who I was? Tom's voice softened, creating a crack in Jamie's heart that allowed a flicker of hope to seep in. Maybe you could start by explaining why you disappeared. Jamie felt her pulse quicken, challenging him directly. The crowd seemed to lean in, both curious and anxious for his response. I was young and foolish. I never wanted to leave you or your mom. I thought it was what was best. But it wasn't. I see that now. Tom looked into her eyes, searching for connection. I know it sounds like a lame excuse, but I had my demons back then. Took me too long to realize that I didn't have to fight them alone. Jamie felt the emotions crash over her like waves, each one stirring up the years of anger, betrayal, and desire to belong. She was afraid he would slip away again, like smoke in the wind, leaving her behind once more. But could she really dismiss him? Before she could answer, The crowd erupted into murmurs. Sam pulled on her sleeve, his small voice cutting through the chatter. "You deserve to know him, Jamie. Please." Her heart twisted at her brother's trust. She knew that he saw the good in everyone, but could she afford that same kind of belief? In the depths of her hesitation, Jamie caught sight of her reflection in a small store window nearby. She looked older, more weathered than her 17 years. What would it take to heal? Did she even want to try? "Just tell me one thing, Tom," she paused, feeling the pressure of the moment. "Are you willing to fight for us? For a real relationship, no matter how hard it gets?" "I will fight every day if it means you'll give me a chance," he replied. "That's what I want. Just one chance to start over." His earnestness struck her. Could he really mean that? Confidence built within her, mingled with fear, as she prepared to weigh her options. But just then, a loud commotion unfolded at the back of the crowd. Someone shouted, and everyone turned to see what was happening now. Jamie's heart thundered, and the decision she had to make slipped further away as chaos erupted around them. A push surged through the crowd as people jumped back in fear. Jamie's heart raced as she turned to catch a glimpse of what was unfolding. At first, she thought it was just a couple of kids messing around, but the cacophony of shouting and the way people were scrambling told a different story. "Someone got hurt!" a voice shouted, panic lacing through the air. Jamie strained to see over the sea of heads, her stomach tightening. She instinctively held tighter to Sam's small hand, squeezing it as if she could protect him from whatever chaos was brewing. Tom reached for her shoulder, but she jerked away, unwilling to be distracted. She needed to focus. As she moved forward, she spotted a group of teenagers huddled around something on the asphalt. Jamie's pulse quickened. Was it serious? Pushing past the crowd, she made her way closer. The shouts became clearer, filled with urgency. Terrified faces surrounded her, each one painted with a mix of concern and disbelief. Jamie caught sight of a boy on the ground, clutching his arm. Blood seeped through his fingers, causing her breath to hitch. "Call 911. Someone screamed, and suddenly the urgency of the moment intensified. Sam tugged on her sleeve again, his face pale. "Jamie, I want to go home." His small voice quaked with fear, and she turned to him, kneeling down to meet his gaze. "Stay close to me. I won't let anything happen to you," she whispered, relishing the little warmth from his hand. But even as she spoke, doubt twisted inside her. What could she really do? Just then, she heard a familiar voice cutting through the chaos. Nick was rushing toward them. "Jamie! Sam! Get back!" he shouted, eyes wide with a mix of shock and protectiveness. Her heart fluttered at the sight of him, an anchor amid turmoil. "What happened?" she gasped, trying to piece everything together. "I don't know. I think someone got into a fight or something, but it looks serious," he replied, pointing toward the boy on the ground. "We should get out of here." "No," Jamie said, shaking her head fiercely. The boy needed help, and she couldn't just walk away. Not after everything she had seen and felt. "We need to help him." With every ounce of conviction, Jamie pulled free from Sam's hand, stepping closer to the scene, her heart bolting with courage she hoped would hold. Tom trailed behind her, looking conflicted, but something in Jamie's resolve ignited the quiet strength within him. He stepped up and their eyes locked. "You can do this," he said softly, though uncertainty lingered. Then, the sudden wail of sirens pierced the air, a glimmer of hope cutting through the trepidation. People began to shift, parting ways to allow space for the medics. But Jamie couldn't shake off the weight that wrapped around her heart. "What are you doing?" Sam's whisper trembled as he clung to her shirt. I don't know," she admitted, feeling the gravity of each second pulling her downward. "But I can't turn away." As the first responders draped their emergency gear over the boy, a gasp rippled through the crowd. And in that moment, Jamie recognized something within herself. Just like Tom, she had to be willing to face the chaos, no matter how much it threatened to overwhelm her. But as she watched the boy being lifted onto the stretcher, another figure stepped through the crowd, their eyes locked on her. Jamie felt the blood drain from her face. No, it couldn't be. What now? she thought, dread pooling in her stomach. The past was looming larger than ever, ready to confront her once again. Would she have the strength to face it? The crowd began to murmur again, their energy shifting as the familiar figure made its way closer. Jamie's heart pounded harder, each beat echoing in her ears. She clenched her fists, unsure whether to flee or stand her ground. As the figure emerged from the throng, Jamie's breath caught. It was her old friend, Zoe. They hadn't spoken in years, their last encounter filled with misunderstandings and sharp words. Zoe's voice wavered, cutting through the chaos. Her eyes were wide, filled with something that looked like regret or maybe fear. "You're here?" Jamie swallowed hard, torn between the palpable tension in the air and the whirlwind of emotions battling inside her. "What are you doing here?" She shot back, a flurry of memories flashing in her mind, the laughter, the fights, the day it had all crumbled apart. Zoe cast a glance towards the stretcher where paramedics were working with urgency. "I saw it from a distance." I wanted to help, but her voice cracked, words failing as she glanced around, realizing the weight of their past hung over them. "Help?" Jamie scoffed, her voice barely a whisper but laced with bitterness. "Why now? Where were you when it mattered?" Before Zoe could respond, the crowd surged again, everyone shifting as the paramedics worked faster. The boy on the stretcher was now surrounded by a flurry of activity, the sirens growing louder as more ambulances arrived. Jamie felt the weight of the moment crash over her. The urgency around her drowned out her own turmoil, yet it also fueled a flame within. "Enough," she said, decisively shaking her head at Zoe. "I don't have time for this." But deep down, she felt a twinge of something more. Curiosity, hope, maybe even a flicker of a desire to reconnect. "Wait," Zoe said, her eyes pleading. I need to explain. I want to." "Jamie." Nick's voice boomed, pulling her focus back to the immediate crisis. He pointed toward the stretcher where the boy lay, visibly in distress as medical personnel administered first aid. "They need help. We need to step back." For a brief moment, Jamie's internal struggle froze. She wanted to hurl every question, every hurtful word at Zoe, but all around her, people were clearly in need, and the chaos surged. "Just stay with Sam, okay?" Jamie said, her words softening. She wanted Sam to feel safe. She turned back to the scene, her heart heavy with two things: the chaos before her and the unresolved tension with Zoe. As the medics loaded the boy into the ambulance, Jamie felt an indescribable pull. It was a moment of connection, a shared feeling of vulnerability that tied her to both the boy and Zoe, leaving her pondering what it meant to be brave. "Jamie," Nick's voice jerked her back again. "We have to go. Please, let us not make this worse." But something was brewing inside her, a storm she wasn't ready to ignore. "I need to find out what happened," she whispered, more to herself than anyone. Zoe shifted closer, her own emotions bubbling to the surface. "I can help, if you'd just let me." Jamie hesitated, emotions swirling within her. Was facing both the chaos of the situation and the turmoil of her past too much to handle? Suddenly, she realized something. She didn't want to be weighed down by fear anymore. Maybe, just maybe, she could find a way to confront everything at once. As she turned back toward the chaos, her heart pounded with resolve. Even if she couldn't save everyone, she could start by facing what was in front of her. And maybe, the past would find a place in that journey too. But just as she took a step forward, a faint crash echoed in the distance, and the crowd gasped again. What had now happened? Would the past finally catch up to her when she least expected it? The sudden crash sent a ripple through the crowd, electrifying the air with a collective gasp. Jamie instinctively turned, her heart racing. Her eyes scanned the now scattered group, catching glimpses of worried faces. What was happening? "Stay close," Nick shouted, pulling at her arm. Jamie could see the fear in his eyes, mixed with urgency. He hadn't left her side during this chaotic scene, a steadfast anchor in a storm of emotions. But now, the chaos was shifting, a new fear replacing the frenetic energy that had just overwhelmed them. What was that? Jamie asked, her voice barely above the din. Yet, she felt that dim fire of curiosity begin to flicker again, battling with the rising concern that as if her question had conjured it. A chorus of voices erupted nearby. People began pointing wildly, and Jamie's gaze followed their gestures. A woman was scrambling, trying to catch her breath after clearly losing her footing. "Oh no!" Zoe exclaimed, stepping forward without a second thought. Jamie marveled at the bravery etched in Zoe's features despite their fractured history. "Somebody is hurt." Jamie felt the pull again, a magnetic force drawing her toward Zoe's side. She didn't want to get caught up in this. It was about the boy, it was about the medics, it was about the chaos. But standing in the familiar presence of Zoe ignited something inside her, a long-buried instinct to protect and understand. "Simon, Jamie," Nick urged, his voice breaking through the haze of thoughts swirling in her mind. "We need to help them." With a deep breath, Jamie nodded, feeling the shift in energy. They rushed toward the commotion, instinctively breaking through the crowd. The impacted woman lay on the ground, her ankle twisted at an unnatural angle, tears of pain welling in her eyes. Ignoring the chaos around them, Jamie dropped to one knee beside the woman. "It's okay. You're going to be all right," she reassured, her voice soft yet steady. "Can you tell me your name?" "Emily," the woman breathed, her voice shaking. "All right, Emily. Just focus on me, okay?" Jamie felt a surge of determination, fueled by the power of connection. "Help is on the way, we'll get you through this." Zoe remained at her side, offering support as Jamie reached for Emily's hand. It was a simple gesture, but in that moment, Jamie felt the distance separating her and Zoe begin to dissolve. "Why are you doing this?" Zoe asked, an edge of disbelief in her voice. "What do you mean?" Jamie replied, glancing back at her, momentarily shaken. "I mean, after everything, why help? Why reach out?" Zoe's eyes reflected a mixture of awe and confusion, as if she were witnessing a piece of Jamie she had forgotten existed. "I guess because I want to be better," Jamie admitted, her voice a whisper against the backdrop of rushing footsteps and distant sirens. I need to do something meaningful for once, not just run away." Just then, the medics arrived, efficient and calm, taking over the situation. Jamie felt a wave of relief wash over her. Yet, the weight of unresolved tension still lingered like a shadow. As they stepped back, allowing professionals to take charge, Jamie sensed that this was a pivotal moment. The chaos around them had revealed something deeper, a shared vulnerability. Maybe this was a way through her feelings of hurt with Zoe, a way toward understanding what it meant to heal. "Can we talk later?" Jamie asked, turning to Zoe, her heart pounding in her chest. Zoe met her gaze, an unspoken understanding passing between them. "Yeah, I do like that." But just as they pulled away, a shout emerged from the crowd again, this time urgent and frantic. "Someone, call 911. What else was happening? The line between past and present was blurring, and Jamie felt the uncertainty curl like smoke around her. Would she be able to handle whatever came next? As the sirens wailed in the distance, Jamie felt something shift deep within her. The chaos that had spun her world out of control suddenly gave way to clarity. So much had happened, years of uncertainty and resentment, the weight of her father's abandonment, and the recent confrontation with her friend Zoe. Yet amidst all the tumult, she felt a flicker of hope beginning to spark anew. They all stood there, the community now tightly knit by shared experiences and emotions laid bare. It was as though the chaos around them had stripped away the superfluous layers of pride and ego, revealing the raw humanity binding them all together. Jamie glanced at her brother Sam, his innocent gaze watching intently. She felt his cheering support coursing through her veins, reminding her that being brave didn't mean being flawless. It meant standing up despite the fear. Turning slowly, she faced Tom, who now appeared more vulnerable than she had ever seen him. The color had drained from his face as he grappled with the weight of back-to-back judgments, first from Jake, and now from the community, all watching intently, seeking answers. "Dad," she whispered, her voice filled with cautious determination. It was the first time she had openly acknowledged him that way in years. "You wanted to make it right?" She took a step toward him, heart pounding. Then show me. Thomas' eyes widened, a mix of relief and fear dancing across his features. I promise. I can prove that change is possible. The tension in his voice conveyed a desire to be more than just a man who had made wrong choices. Jamie understood that the road to redemption would be rocky. Let us not just brush this under the rug, she continued, meeting his gaze. We need to face it. All of it. She turned toward the crowd. If we're going to heal as a community, we have to confront our truths. The murmurs returned, cascading through the onlookers as they processed Jamie's heartfelt words. At that moment, she felt the collective weight of their doubts and hopes resting on her shoulders. We're all linked, aren't we? She said, her voice rising. No matter who we are or where we come from, we've all struggled. Just like our diner has been a safe space for some, we can create a safe space for each other. Let us gather our strengths together. The faces in the crowd began to shift, expressions slowly transforming from skepticism to resolve. They could feel it, a heartening energy binding them through shared vulnerabilities. Her voice, steady and fierce, flickered to life in the gathering dusk. Tom took a step toward her, caught up in her conviction. I've made my mistakes public. It's time to accept them together and face whatever comes next. Just then, Jamie felt a small hand tugging on her sleeve. It was Sam, his face glowing with admiration. You did it, Jamie. You're so brave. His words melted her heart, sparking a warmth she didn't know she needed. Together we can make Maplewood something beautiful, Jamie replied. A rush of emotion surged through her. It wasn't just about the diner anymore. It was about healing and forging connections deeper than the scars left behind. Change starts with each of us. Zoe chimed in, stepping forward, vulnerability showing in her posture. I want to be better too. I can be part of this change if you'll have me. A wave of understanding rippled through the crowd, their tempo shifting. People began nodding, expressions brightening as they felt a fresh sense of purpose rekindle amid the darkness. In that moment, Jamie realized this was her new beginning. A moment reflected in the warm glow of the streetlights battling back the encroaching night. This was not the end but the heartfelt start of blooming together, a seed of community, nurtured through honesty, compassion, and bravery. As the first responders finished tending to the injured boy, the crowd erupted into gentle applause, igniting a tempered hope among them. The laughter returned softly, mixing with the stories of struggles, triumphs, and healing. The future shimmered, full of potential. And as Jamie stood at the helm, surrounded by family and friends, she felt a bright light illuminating the way forward. It was time to embrace each challenge, each revelation that emerged. They would rebuild not only a diner but a community bound by love and determination. In that moment of collective triumph, Jamie's heart swelled with emotion, a radiant smile spread across her face as she beamed at the crowd. Together, they would rise, hands united as the new chapter of their lives unfolded. They had faced the past. Now it was time to step boldly into a future shimmering with promise. And should you find yourself inspired by Jamie's incredible journey, remember this moment. You need to subscribe now to be part of the next chapter of transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to keep the energy flowing and feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this conclusion, and let us keep the conversation alive. And don't wait not even one more second, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this powerful transformation. Together, let's create a community of hope and change.